Ravi had a life that seemed ordinary to most people, yet there was one thing about him that made him different. He had a habit that he had followed for years, a habit that others might find unusual or even strange. He slept naked, not just in the summer when the nights were warm, but in the chilly winter months as well. He claimed it made him feel free, and for Ravi, freedom was a feeling more valuable than anything else in the world. Every evening, after finishing his work or reading a book, he would prepare for bed. He had a small routine that made him feel calm and relaxed. First, he would close all the windows in his apartment, making sure the cold night air did not come inside. Then he would check the lights and electronics, ensuring everything was turned off. Finally, he would make his bed neatly, arranging the sheets and blanket in a way that was comfortable. Once this was done, he would strip down to nothing, slide under the soft covers, and allow sleep to come. This particular night, however, felt different. The sky outside was unusually clear, and the stars shone brighter than Ravi had ever seen. He had spent the evening reading a novel about distant planets and ancient civilizations, losing himself in the story so deeply that he did not notice the time passing. When he finally looked at the clock, it was past midnight, and the quiet apartment felt even more silent than usual. The city outside seemed asleep as well, with only the faint hum of distant traffic occasionally reaching his window. Ravi yawned, set the book on the bedside table, and stretched his arms above his head. He had always loved stretching before bed. It made him feel his muscles relaxing and his mind slowing down. With a deep sigh, he slid under the blanket, letting it cover him from the shoulders down, and closed his eyes. The warmth of the covers, combined with the coolness of the air in the room, created a perfect balance. He felt calm, peaceful, and ready to drift into sleep. As he lay there, his mind wandered, thinking about ordinary things, the work he had done that day, the phone calls he needed to make, and the plans he had for the weekend. Yet gradually, those thoughts began to fade, replaced by a strange sense of anticipation. He could not explain it. Something felt different, but he could not figure out why. Perhaps it was the clarity of the stars outside, or maybe it was just the calmness of the night. Either way, it made him feel a little alert even though he was already sleepy. Ravi's breathing slowed as he sank deeper into sleep. The night seemed normal at first, with the quiet ticking of the clock and the occasional distant sound of a car or footsteps outside. Yet beneath that ordinary calm, something unusual was beginning. A soft vibration filled the air, almost imperceptible, like a whisper he could not hear but could feel. It was gentle at first, like a faint hum, but slowly it grew stronger. In his dream, Ravi found himself standing in a field he had never seen before. The grass beneath his feet was soft and green, stretching endlessly in all directions. The sky above was painted with colors he could not name, a mix of deep purple, soft orange, and sparkling blue. He looked around, confused. He had gone to sleep in his familiar bedroom, but now he was here, standing barefoot in a strange, beautiful place. He took a cautious step forward, feeling the soft grass give slightly beneath his feet. The air was warm, with a gentle breeze that carried the faint scent of flowers. There were no buildings, no roads, no signs of people. Only the endless field and the colorful sky. Ravi's heart began to beat faster. It felt real, yet it could not be real. He pinched his arm to check, and the sensation was there, sharp and real. Ravi began to walk slowly, exploring the field. Each step felt lighter than the last, almost as if the ground itself was lifting him slightly. He noticed something glittering in the distance, like tiny crystals scattered across the grass. Curiosity pulled him toward it, and as he walked, he saw shapes forming in the distance. They were not trees or mountains. They were taller than anything he had ever seen, stretching toward the sky, glowing softly with the colors of the strange sunset above. The closer he got, the more he realized that these shapes were alive in some way. They shifted slightly when he looked at them, as if watching him, aware of his presence. Ravi felt both fear and fascination at the same time. His mind struggled to understand what he was seeing. It was as if he had stepped into another world, one completely separate from his ordinary life, yet somehow connected to his own consciousness. Suddenly, a soft sound reached his ears. It was almost like music, but not the kind he had ever heard. It was gentle, melodic, and full of emotion, as if the wind itself was singing. Ravi followed the sound, drawn deeper into the field toward the glowing shapes. The closer he got, the stronger the feeling of being watched became. His skin tingled, and he felt a shiver run down his spine. He tried to tell himself that it was just a dream, that none of this could be real. but the sensations were too vivid, too real. As he reached the edge of the glowing shapes, he noticed that they were arranged in a circle. Within the circle, the grass was perfectly even, almost like it had been sculpted by invisible hands. In the center of the circle lay a small object, no bigger than a book resting on the grass. It shimmered with the same colors as the sky, pulsing gently like it had a heartbeat. Ravi stepped closer, mesmerized. He had no idea what the object was, but he felt drawn to it as if it were calling him. Ravi knelt down, reaching toward the object. The moment his fingers brushed its surface, a warm light spread through his hands and up his arms. He gasped, pulling back slightly, but the feeling was not painful. Instead, it was comforting, like the world itself was welcoming him. His heart raced and he felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. What was this place? What was this object, and why did it feel so familiar, even though he had never seen anything like it before? As he sat there trying to understand, the glowing shapes around him began to move. They shifted closer, forming a protective circle around him. Ravi realized they were not threatening. Instead, they seemed curious, studying him as he studied the object. He took a deep breath, calming himself, and touched the object again. The light spread, filling his entire body with warmth. And for a moment he felt completely free, as if all the worries and restrictions of his ordinary life had melted away. Then, without warning, a soft voice echoed in his mind. It was calm, gentle, and impossible to ignore. "You're ready," it said. Ravi's eyes widened. He had not spoken aloud, yet the voice was clear, directed at him. Ready for what? He thought, but no answer came. The voice was gone, leaving only the gentle glow of the object and the shimmering shapes around him. Ravi sat in the field, the warmth of the object still pulsing in his hands, feeling a strange mixture of awe and fear. He had never experienced anything like this in his life. It was as if he had been transported to another world, one that existed just beyond the ordinary, waiting for him to discover it. And though he did not understand what was happening, he knew one thing for certain. His life had just changed in a way he could never have imagined. The night in his bedroom, the quiet apartment, and the ordinary world felt far away now. Something extraordinary had begun, something beyond his understanding. And even as he sat there, feeling the pulse of the mysterious object, he sensed that what awaited him was far bigger and stranger than he could ever imagine. Ravi did not know it yet, but this night would be remembered forever. The world he had entered, the strange glowing shapes and the mysterious object were only the beginning. What he would discover next would challenge everything he knew about reality, about freedom, and about the very nature of life itself. Ravi woke with a start. His eyes snapped open, expecting the familiar ceiling of his bedroom and the soft sunlight streaming through the window. But what he saw made his heart skip a beat. This was not his room, not even close. Instead of the familiar walls, curtains, and bedside table, he found himself lying on a smooth, glowing floor that seemed to stretch endlessly in every direction. The air was cool and clean, carrying a faint scent he could not name. It was neither unpleasant nor sweet, but it had a strange clarity that made him feel alert. For a moment, Ravi froze, unsure if he was awake or still dreaming. He pushed himself up on his elbows and looked around. The walls were made of a material that shimmered like liquid glass, reflecting light that seemed to come from everywhere at once. There were no doors, no windows, no furniture. The space seemed impossibly large, like an endless hall that stretched far beyond what his eyes could see. He could feel his heartbeat pounding in his chest as panic began to creep in. "Where am I?" he whispered, his voice small and uncertain. The sound echoed slightly, but there was no answer. Only silence, vast and complete, filled the space. Ravi tried to remember falling asleep. He remembered the comfort of his bed, the warmth of his blanket, and the quiet of his room. But now, lying here, none of that seemed real. This place was too strange, too perfect, too alive. Slowly, Ravi pushed himself to his feet. The floor was cool under his bare feet, smooth but not slippery. With each step, he felt a vibration in the ground, gentle and rhythmic like the beating of a distant drum. He walked cautiously, trying to find some sign of normality, a door, a window, anything familiar. But the hall stretched endlessly, shimmering with light, and every direction looked exactly the same. As he moved, he noticed shapes beginning to take form in the distance. They were tall and thin, standing straight as pillars. The closer he got, the more he realized these shapes were not inanimate. They moved slightly, almost imperceptibly, as if observing him. Their surfaces reflected light in waves, changing colors with every angle. Ravi's curiosity fought against the fear creeping into his mind. He reached out toward one of the shapes. As his fingers approached, the surface rippled like water, but without any sound. He drew back, startled, and looked around. The hall seemed even larger now, stretching farther than before. He realized that every step he took felt lighter than normal, almost as if the air itself was lifting him slightly. His heart raced. This was impossible. Nothing like this could exist in the ordinary world. Ravi's thoughts spun wildly. Could this be a dream? Perhaps his mind had created this strange hall while he slept. He tried to wake himself, pinching his arm and blinking rapidly. Each sensation was real. The cool floor under his feet, the faint scent in the air, the gentle vibration of the hall. It all felt undeniably real. Panic mixed with wonder. He could not explain it, yet he could not deny it. He continued walking, drawn toward the center of the hall. As he approached, he noticed a soft light appearing on the floor ahead. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat, guiding him forward. He felt a strange pull, as if something in the distance was calling him. His curiosity overcame his fear, and he moved faster, eager to discover what awaited him. Soon he saw them more clearly, figures standing in a wide circle around the glowing center. They were unlike any humans he had ever seen. Their bodies were tall and thin, draped in silver robes that shimmered with the colors of the hall. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their faces were smooth and serene, almost expressionless. Yet Ravi could feel their attention on him, as if they had been waiting for him to arrive. He stopped, frozen in place. The figures did not move. They did not speak. They simply watched him with an intensity that made his skin tingle. He wanted to turn and run, but his feet felt heavy, as if the hall itself held him in place. He swallowed hard and took a tentative step forward. One figure, taller than the rest, moved forward slowly. It carried a staff that glowed softly at the top, casting light on the floor like a guiding star. Ravi's breath caught in his throat. There was something calm yet commanding about the figure. As it approached, he could feel a warmth spreading through his chest, a strange comfort in the midst of fear. Suddenly, a voice echoed in his mind, clear and calm. "Do not be afraid, Ravi." He jumped, looking around. The figure's lips did not move, yet the voice filled his thoughts. "You are here for a reason. You have crossed into the threshold." Ravi's mind raced. "Threshold? What threshold? What is this place?" he asked silently. The voice continued, patient and gentle. "This hall exists between worlds. Few humans have ever entered. You are different. You are ready to see what lies beyond your ordinary life." Fear mingled with awe. Ravi could not understand what the voice meant, yet he felt the truth in it. The figures around him remained silent, standing tall and still. Their presence was powerful, yet it did not feel threatening. Instead, it was like standing in the presence of something greater than himself, something wise and eternal. The tall figure lifted its staff slightly, and a soft light appeared in the center of the circle. Ravi walked closer, drawn by the glow. He realized that in the middle of the hall was an object, small but radiant, pulsing with energy. It reminded him of the mysterious object he had seen in his dream the night before. His heart raced as he knelt down to examine it. As soon as he touched it, a warm sensation spread through his body, filling him with a strange sense of calm. Images flashed in his mind, visions of distant landscapes, shimmering skies, and places he had never visited. It was as if the object was showing him another world, a world that existed parallel to his own. He gasped, pulling back slightly, yet he could not look away. The voice spoke again, gentle but firm. "You have been chosen to see beyond what is known. Your world is only one part of reality. There is more, much more, and you have the chance to understand it." Ravi's mind struggled to comprehend. "Chosen, why me?" he asked silently. The figure did not answer with words. Instead, a wave of understanding washed over him. He realized that this place, the glowing hall, the figures and the object were all connected. He had entered something extraordinary while he slept, something that only a few could ever experience. He looked around, trying to memorize every detail, the shimmer of the walls, the glow of the floor, the stillness of the figures. He wanted to remember everything, to carry it back with him to the ordinary world. Yet he also felt a pull, an invitation to step closer and explore what lay ahead. His curiosity outweighed his fear. With a deep breath, he reached toward the glowing object once more, feeling the warmth spread through his hands and into his entire body. A new sensation followed, a gentle lifting, as if the floor itself was rising beneath him. The hall seemed to expand, stretching farther and farther, and Ravi felt as if he was floating between worlds. The figures remained in their circle, watching silently, guiding him with their presence. He realized that whatever awaited him next would not be something he could control, but something he would have to accept and understand. Time seemed to lose meaning in the hall. Seconds, minutes, or hours, it was impossible to tell. The only constant was the glowing object and the soft hum that filled the air. Ravi sat quietly, absorbing everything, feeling the profound connection between himself, the hall, and the mysterious figures. He had never felt anything like it, a sense of being both small and infinitely significant at the same time. Finally, the tall figure stepped forward again, raising its staff higher. The glow intensified and a soft wind swirled around Ravi. He felt a gentle pressure on his chest, a feeling of invitation, urging him to take the next step. He knew he had a choice, to step back and retreat into fear or to move forward and embrace the unknown. His curiosity won. With trembling hands, he touched the glow once more, ready to see what lay beyond the threshold. And in that moment, as the light enveloped him, Ravi realized that the world he had known, the apartment, the city, the ordinary life, was only a part of what existed. What awaited him was beyond imagination, beyond fear, beyond everything he had ever known. And though he could not yet understand it, he knew that his life had changed forever. Ravi's heart was still racing from the glow that had surrounded him in the center of the hall. The warmth that pulsed through his body had calmed his fear slightly, but a new sensation had taken its place, a feeling of being watched. He turned his head slowly, trying to locate the source. The hall around him shimmered in soft light, but the figures in their silver robes had moved closer. They did not speak. They did not make a sound. They simply observed him with an intensity that made Ravi feel exposed, as if every thought and feeling he had was visible to them. He wanted to speak, to ask questions, but his throat felt tight, his voice refusing to form. Fear gnawed at him, yet he could not pull away. Something about the silent presence of these beings demanded attention, respect, and patience. Ravi's eyes scanned the circle. The figures were tall and graceful, their robes flowing even though there was no breeze. Their glowing eyes reflected the light of the hall, and he realized with a shiver that each pair of eyes seemed to look straight into him, past the surface, into the very core of his being. Every step he took toward them made him more aware of the strange calmness that emanated from their presence. He felt as if the hall itself had slowed, the ordinary rhythm of time suspended in their watchful gaze. A faint vibration hummed through the floor beneath him, matching the pulse of the glowing object at the center. Ravi felt the energy of the place wrapping around him, like a soft but firm embrace. He could not move backward now, even if he had wanted to. The figures were like guardians standing silently in their circle, guiding him to a place he did not yet understand. Then, one of the taller figures stepped forward. Unlike the others, it carried a staff topped with a soft, glowing orb. The figure raised the staff slightly, and the air seemed to hum in response. Ravi felt the warmth from before growing stronger, spreading through his arms and chest. The glow from the object in the center seemed to reach toward the staff, creating a network of shimmering light that connected the figure and the circle of silent observers. Suddenly the voice came again. This time it was louder, echoing in Ravi's mind with clarity. "You have come far, Ravi. You are ready to learn what lies beyond your world." Ravi swallowed hard. He tried to speak aloud, but no words formed. The voice continued, calm yet commanding. "Do not be afraid. We are here to guide you." Ravi took a hesitant step forward. The figure with the staff did not move, but the glow seemed to invite him closer. He noticed the other figures shifting slightly, forming a wider circle around him. They were not blocking him, they were making space. The hall felt alive now, as if it breathed with every movement, every ripple of light. His fear began to mix with awe. "Why am I here?" he thought, focusing on the voice in his mind. "Why me?" The tall figure did not answer with words, but the glow of its staff pulsed gently, and Ravi felt a wave of understanding washing over him. He realized that this place was not random, and his presence was not an accident. He had been chosen somehow for a reason he did not yet understand. As he stood in the center, the floor beneath him shifted slightly, forming faint patterns of light that spread outward like ripples in water. Ravi noticed that the other figures mirrored the shapes, their robes reflecting the patterns. It was as if the hall itself were alive, responding to his presence and his thoughts. He reached out instinctively, and the glowing object at the center responded with a pulse that traveled up his arms and into his chest. Ravi's curiosity overcame his fear. He knelt closer to the glowing object, examining it. It was small, simple in shape, yet it radiated energy and life. He placed his hands over it, feeling the warmth seep into his skin, and he could not help but wonder. What was this object? Was it a key, a guide, or something much more powerful than he could imagine? The silent figures shifted again, and this time Ravi noticed something extraordinary. Their eyes glowed brighter, and faint shapes appeared around them, symbols, geometric patterns, and lines of light floating in the air. The symbols seemed to react to Ravi's heartbeat, moving and shifting in a slow, deliberate dance. He realized with amazement that these figures were not merely watching. They were communicating not with words but with energy and patterns. Ravi felt a connection forming. He could sense the hall, the object, and the figures as if they were part of one living organism. Each pulse of light, each subtle movement of the robes, every vibration in the floor, all were part of a language he had never known but somehow understood. His fear faded further, replaced with a growing sense of wonder. Suddenly, the tall figure moved slightly, raising the staff higher. A beam of light extended from the orb, pointing directly at Ravi. He felt a gentle pressure on his chest, and the vision of the world he had known, the apartment, the city, his life, seemed to shrink. He could see fragments of it floating away, like memories in mist. At the same time, the hall and the figures expanded around him, enveloping him in their glow. The voice spoke again, this time not as words but as feelings. Ravi felt reassurance, guidance, and patience all at once. You are ready to see, to understand, to accept. This is your first step beyond your world. He could not explain how he understood the voice's meaning, but it felt true. The hall, the object, and the figures were offering him a chance to move beyond the ordinary, to discover something extraordinary. Ravi stood quietly, letting the energy of the hall fill him. He could feel the glow of the object pulsing in rhythm with the vibration of the floor. Every step he had taken since waking here had led him to this moment. The silent audience around him was no longer threatening. They were guides, teachers, guardians of something greater than he had ever imagined. Time seemed to slow. Ravi's thoughts drifted between curiosity, awe, and a small trace of fear. What lay ahead? What did the hall want him to see? He could sense that the answer was near but not yet revealed. The figures did not speak aloud, yet their presence was enough to guide him, to prepare him for what he would face next. As he stood in the glowing center, he felt a warmth spreading through his body, starting from his hands and feet and moving inward. It was comforting, almost like a protective shield, but also energizing. His senses sharpened. He could feel the subtle vibrations in the air, the faint hum of energy in the walls, the slow rhythm of the glowing object. It was as if the hall itself were alive, breathing, and he was a part of it now. A thought came to him suddenly. He was not alone. Not just the figures, but something else. A presence beyond the hall, beyond the glow, watching and waiting. He could not see it, but he felt it like a shadow at the edge of his mind. A strange thrill ran through him. He had entered a place few humans could ever reach, and the hall had responded to his arrival in a way he could not fully comprehend. The tall figure raised the staff once more, and the glow intensified. Symbols and patterns of light danced across the floor, weaving themselves around Ravi in a protective circle. The vibration of the hall matched the rhythm of his heartbeat, creating a sense of connection and harmony he had never known. For the first time, he felt a true understanding. He was not a visitor here. He was part of this place, chosen to witness, to learn, and to experience something beyond ordinary life. Ravi closed his eyes, letting the sensations wash over him. Fear was gone, replaced by awe and anticipation. He felt ready, though he did not yet know what ready meant. The figures remained silent, their glowing eyes fixed on him, their presence calm yet powerful. He realized that he had entered not just a hall, but a world of knowledge, energy, and purpose that awaited him at every turn. And then, without warning, a subtle shift occurred. The glowing object in the center pulsed brighter, and the vibration beneath him grew stronger. The figures leaned slightly forward, as if inviting him to step closer, to engage with the hall and its mysteries. Ravi took a deep breath, understanding that this was the moment of choice. He could retreat, or he could embrace the unknown and move forward. With courage he did not know he possessed, Ravi stepped toward the glowing object, feeling the warmth spread through his body again. The hall responded instantly, light rippling across the floor, up the walls, and through the figure's robes. He felt a strange exhilaration, a mixture of joy, anticipation, and wonder. He had entered a place of silence, yet it spoke volumes, teaching him without words, guiding him without touch. For the first time, Ravi understood that the silent audience around him was not merely watching. They were part of a world of wisdom, a world of energy, a world he had only begun to glimpse, and as he stood in the center, ready to take the next step, he felt certain that his journey had only just begun, and that what lay ahead would change his life forever. Ravi's heart was still racing as he stood in the center of the glowing hall. The figures in their silver robes remained perfectly still, forming a protective circle around him. Yet despite the calm, he could feel the energy of the place vibrating beneath his feet, pulsing in rhythm with the object at the center. The warmth he had felt before spread through his chest, filling him with a strange mixture of anticipation and curiosity. For a moment, Ravi felt the need to speak aloud, to ask questions, but the words refused to form. His lips moved slightly, but no sound came out. Then, as if responding to his unspoken thoughts, the tall figure with the staff raised it slowly. Light flowed from the glowing orb atop the staff, forming delicate strands of energy that stretched toward Ravi. The strands wove themselves around him gently, not binding but guiding, like invisible threads of understanding. A voice echoed softly in his mind, clearer this time, calm yet firm. "Ravi, you have come far. Now you must understand why you are here." Ravi swallowed hard, trying to steady his breath. The voice continued, and this time, he felt the meaning of every word directly in his mind, as if it were being placed there gently by the hall itself. "This place is a threshold, a space between worlds. It exists to teach, to guide, and to prepare those who are chosen." Ravi's mind raced. Chosen, and for what? He thought silently. There was no immediate answer. Instead, he felt a sensation, a gentle pressure in his chest that spread warmth through his body. The tall figure stepped closer, and with a subtle motion of its staff, the glowing object at the center began to float slightly above the ground. Light radiated from it in waves, filling the hall with soft energy that seemed alive. Suddenly, symbols appeared in the air above the object. They were intricate, geometric, and constantly shifting, like moving puzzles of light. Ravi could not read them in any ordinary sense, yet their meaning reached him in a different way. Images, feelings, and ideas passed into his mind, visions of distant places, knowledge of energy and harmony, and a deep connection to the universe itself. He realized that the hall was teaching him not with words but with experience. The voice spoke again. "You are here because you have crossed into freedom. You have chosen a path that few can walk. Your world is only a part of reality. There are many layers, many possibilities, and your understanding is only beginning." Ravi's eyes widened. Layers of reality? Possibilities. He had never thought about life in such a way. Yet as he felt the energy around him, it made sense. He realized that what he had known, his home, his work, his city, was only one version of existence. "Can I return?" he thought, feeling a twinge of fear. The voice responded gently, reassuringly. "You may return at any time, but your journey here will remain with you. What you learn cannot be undone. It will change you forever." Ravi felt a shiver run through him, not from fear, but from awe. He understood that he was part of something far greater than himself, something beyond ordinary human experience. The tall figure moved slightly, and the glowing orb on the staff emitted a pulse of light that spread through the hall. The other figure's robes shimmered, reflecting the pulse in waves of color. Ravi felt the energy move into him, filling him with clarity and awareness. For the first time, he felt that he could perceive the hall not just with his eyes but with his mind, his senses, and even his heart. He knelt closer to the glowing object, feeling its warmth on his hands. The symbols above it shifted again, and a new sensation entered his mind, a feeling of guidance, a sense that the hall wanted him to understand something very important. Ravi focused, letting the energy flow through him, opening his mind and heart. Slowly, a message began to form, not in words but in meaning. The hall showed him visions of energy flows, connections between life and the universe, and the importance of awareness and balance. He saw how actions in one place could ripple across worlds, how choices mattered far more than he had ever imagined. The figures surrounding him were guardians, teachers, and guides, silently observing, ensuring that he could absorb this knowledge safely. Ravi felt humbled. He had always thought of himself as an ordinary man, living an ordinary life. But now he realized that ordinary life was only a part of existence, and that there was so much more to see, learn, and understand. The energy of the hall pulsed with purpose, guiding him gently, showing him the beauty and complexity of the universe beyond his world. Then the voice returned, more focused this time. You are ready to take a step further. What you do next will define your path. You may remain in your world, or you may choose to see beyond it. The choice is yours. Ravi's mind raced. He wanted to ask questions, but the voice was not finished. Do not fear. You are prepared. Trust what you feel and let your curiosity guide you. Ravi closed his eyes, breathing deeply. He felt the warmth of the glowing object, the steady pulse of energy in the hall, and the silent, watchful presence of the figures. He realized that he was not alone and that fear was unnecessary. The hall was not a trap. It was an opportunity, an invitation to learn, to grow, and to see the world differently. As he opened his eyes, he noticed that the figures had shifted again, forming a clearer path toward a distant wall of light at the far end of the hall. It was as if the hall itself was showing him where to go, guiding him toward the next stage of his journey. He took a tentative step forward, and the glowing orb on the staff pulsed in response, casting soft waves of light across the floor. Ravi felt a thrill of excitement. For the first time, he sensed the true potential of this place. The hall was not just a room, it was a gateway, a teacher, and a guide. He could feel knowledge waiting for him, waiting to be discovered if he was brave enough to continue. Another pulse of energy spread through him, stronger this time. It carried a feeling of purpose, a sense that he had been chosen not by chance, but because he had the potential to understand what few could. The hall was alive with wisdom, patience, and anticipation, and Ravi felt both honored and humbled to be a part of it. He approached the glowing object once more. This time, as he touched it, the symbols above it began to form patterns that he could understand more clearly. They showed him paths, decisions, and consequences. He felt the hall guiding him through choices, showing him what could be, what might be, and what would be if he acted with courage and awareness. Ravi's mind expanded with understanding. He saw how his actions could ripple beyond his own life, touching others in ways he could not yet comprehend. He realized that the hall had brought him here to teach him not just about this space, but about himself, about responsibility, and about the vast possibilities of existence. The tall figure stepped closer again, lowering the staff slightly. The voice echoed one final time, calm and firm. Remember, Ravi, knowledge is not enough. Understanding and action must follow. You have been chosen to see, to learn, and to decide. What you do next is yours to choose, and it will shape the path ahead. Ravi nodded, even though the figure could not see him. He felt ready. For the first time in his life, he understood that he was standing at the edge of something extraordinary, and that the choice he made here would affect not just himself, but the worlds he had glimpsed. He took a deep breath and felt the energy of the hall flow through him, steadying him, strengthening him, and preparing him for what was to come. The figures remained silent, their presence calm and protective. The glowing object pulsed steadily, its energy aligned with the rhythm of Ravi's heartbeat. He felt a connection to the hall, to the figures, and to the knowledge that was being shared with him. He understood that the message was not just words or visions, it was an experience, a lesson, and an invitation to grow. Ravi's eyes shone with determination. He was no longer a passive observer. He had been chosen, guided, and prepared. And as he stepped forward, touching the glowing object once more, he felt the hall respond with a wave of light and energy that filled him completely. He knew that the next steps would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and new understanding. For the first time, Ravi felt truly ready. The message of the hall, the silent figures, and the glowing object had reached him. He had learned to trust, to observe, and to feel, and as he stood in the center of the hall, he realized that his journey was only beginning, and that what awaited him would be more extraordinary than he could have imagined. Ravi's heart was steady now, but his mind was racing. He had come far in the glowing hall, learned much from the silent figures, and touched the mysterious object that pulsed with energy. The message had been clear. He had been chosen to see beyond the ordinary, to learn what few humans could comprehend. Yet he knew that the most important lesson was still ahead. The tall figure with the staff moved closer, its glowing orb casting a soft light across the hall. Ravi could feel the energy rising, more intense than before. The walls shimmered, the floor vibrated, and the glowing object at the center floated higher. It was as if the entire hall had come alive, responding to his presence and his readiness. Ravi took a deep breath, preparing himself for whatever revelation awaited him. Suddenly, the glowing object shot a pulse of light upward. The hall was filled with soft, harmonious hums vibrating through Ravi's body. He felt his senses expand, his mind opening to everything around him. The figures remained still, silent and watchful, but their energy seemed to reach into him, guiding him gently. Ravi realized that this was the moment he had been preparing for, the moment when he would finally understand the true purpose of the hall and the mysterious object. The tall figure raised its staff higher, and the light from the orb formed a circle around Ravi. Within the circle, the glowing object floated in midair, pulsating brighter and brighter. Ravi felt a rush of warmth not just in his body but in his mind and heart. Images flashed before his eyes, scenes of his life, ordinary and simple, but connected in ways he had never realized. He saw how each choice he had made, no matter how small, had shaped who he was, and how each decision had created ripples beyond his understanding. Then, without warning, a vision appeared that made his breath catch. He saw his bedroom, his familiar apartment, and the world outside his window, but it was different. It was alive with energy, with lines of light connecting everything and everyone. He could see the paths of possibilities, the invisible threads linking actions to outcomes, choices to consequences. It was beautiful, complex, and overwhelming all at once. Ravi felt a sense of wonder he had never known before. The voice echoed in his mind again, calm yet commanding. Ravi, what you see is the true nature of your world. It is not as it seems. Everything is connected. Every action, every thought, every moment has meaning. You have been given a glimpse so that you may understand the power of awareness. Ravi's mind struggled to grasp the magnitude of what he was seeing. His ordinary life, his work, his friends, his routines, was part of something infinitely larger. He realized that the hall, the figures, and the glowing object were not just guides. They were windows into understanding the deeper truths of existence. The energy that pulsed around him was the heartbeat of the universe, and he was standing at its center, chosen to witness and learn. As he absorbed this realization, the tall figure lowered its staff slightly. The light from the orb formed a pathway across the hall, leading to a wall of radiant energy. Ravi felt a pull, gentle but irresistible, urging him to move forward. He stepped cautiously, feeling the warmth of the light beneath his feet and the steady pulse of the glowing object guiding him. Every step seemed to resonate with the rhythm of the hall, as if he were in harmony with the energy that filled the space. When he reached the wall of radiant energy, he paused. It was not solid, yet it felt tangible, like a barrier that could only be crossed with understanding and intention. Ravi reached out with both hands, feeling the energy ripple against his palms. A soft hum filled his mind, carrying a message he could feel rather than hear. Beyond this wall lies knowledge. Beyond this wall lies understanding. Beyond this wall lies your choice. Ravi took a deep breath. Fear and excitement swirled within him, but he knew what he had to do. He stepped forward, letting the energy surround him completely. The hall seemed to dissolve, replaced by a sensation of movement, as if he were traveling through light and space itself. He felt weightless, suspended in a current of energy that carried him effortlessly forward. Suddenly, he felt a presence beside him. One of the figures had moved, its glowing eyes fixed on him. Ravi could feel its guidance, calm and steady, encouraging him to embrace what was coming. The vision before him sharpened, a scene from his own life yet illuminated with clarity. He saw the choices he had made, the kindness he had shown, the moments he had ignored, and how all of them had created threads that led to this very moment. Then, the shocking revelation came. In the vision, he saw himself sleeping as he had the night before. But there was something different. A small shard of light hovered above him, radiant and pulsing. It was exactly like the glowing object he had encountered in the hall. He realized with awe and astonishment that this energy had existed in his life without his awareness. waiting for him to recognize it, to awaken to it. Ravi gasped. The truth hit him fully. The glowing object, the hall, and the figures were not external. They were connected to him, to his awareness, and to the choices he had made. The universe had responded to his openness, to his willingness to explore beyond the ordinary. He had been chosen not by chance, but because he had shown readiness, curiosity, and courage. The voice spoke once more, gentle yet filled with authority. You see now, Ravi, you are not separate from what you experience. You are part of the flow of existence, the rhythm of life, and the energy of all that is. Your awakening is complete, but the journey has only begun. What you do next will shape the paths ahead, for you and for many others. Ravi's mind reeled with the magnitude of the revelation. He realized that everything he had thought of as ordinary was intertwined with the extraordinary. The walls of the hall, the figures, the glowing object. They had all been part of an experience designed to awaken him to awareness. He felt gratitude, humility, and a new determination to honor what he had been shown. As he opened his eyes, the hall faded around him. The glowing figures dissolved into light, and the floor beneath him became solid again. Ravi felt himself descending gently until he was back in his bedroom. Sunlight streamed through the window, warm and ordinary, yet somehow different. His bedside table, once empty except for his book, now held a small silver shard glowing faintly with the same light he had seen in the hall. Ravi's breath caught in his throat. He reached out and picked up the shard, feeling the familiar warmth pulse through his fingers. The experience of the hall, the figures, and the message, all of it was real. He had not dreamed. He had awakened to something extraordinary. The shard was a reminder, a key, and a symbol of the journey he had begun. He looked around his bedroom, seeing it with new eyes. The ordinary was extraordinary. Every object, every corner, every ray of sunlight carried meaning. He understood that his life would never be the same. Awareness had transformed him, opening his mind to possibilities he had never imagined. Ravi placed the shard carefully on his bedside table, feeling a sense of responsibility. The experience had shown him the importance of understanding, choice, and connection. He realized that the hall, the glowing object, and the figures had not only revealed knowledge, they had prepared him to act with awareness in his life. A deep sense of peace settled over him. Fear was gone. Doubt was gone. In its place was clarity, purpose, and wonder. He knew that the shard, the hall, and the silent audience had given him a gift beyond comprehension. He had been shown the threads of existence, the layers of reality, and the power of awareness. Ravi took a deep breath and smiled. He had awoken to something shocking, yes, but it was not fear or danger that awaited him. It was understanding, awakening, and the infinite possibilities of life itself. He had been chosen, guided, and transformed, and now the real journey was beginning. For the first time, Ravi felt truly alive.